Hey, what's up everyone, it's your girl Brain Shanae, and today is my stop for the Rockstar book tours, and I'm going to be doing a book review for I Kick and I Fly, and this is by Ruchira Gupta. This book had me in tears. I'm going to let you know right now. I already gave this a 5 out of 5 stars because I love the story, but I also love the fact of the story that they're trying to convey and to tell, not just to readers, but to librarians, and to bring awareness to what is still a huge issue in this world, especially in India and in the United States. And so we are following a girl named Hira, who is the main character in this book, who lives in the outskirts of the red light area of Bihar, India. And then one day her father decides that in order to pay off their debt, he wants to sell his daughter to one of the main sex traffickers in their area in order to pay off their debt. And Hira does not want to do that at all. She's already being discouraged. She's already feels like she's defined by how she lives, by how she looks, by how she's dressed. Literally, as you read the very beginning of this book, she is looking forward to school because that's the only time where she's really able to eat. When she's at home, there's barely anything for them to eat. They barely make ends meet as it is. And then she also takes care of her little sisters. And so they live in this hut where it's not really stable. And one night, rain just comes pouring down, and one of her sisters gets very sick, and then she ends up passing away. And so Hira sees all this. She wants to do something for her family, but she also is concerned that her father is going to sell her off, and she's never going to be able to see not only her sister, but her brother and her mom. And so one day she comes across this woman called Rennie D, who she found out where she does karate, or not karate, but kung fu at her job, where her school is. And she has a couple of girls who already are part of the program that Rennie D has started. And so Hira decides to talk to Rennie D about it, and Rennie D said, okay, you can be part of my group and to learn kung fu. And then Rennie D also knew more about Hira's background and how Hira wants to go back to school because that will make sure that she doesn't get sold, because she'll be busy, she won't be at home or nothing like that, where somebody will try to take her away. So Rennie D finds ways where they have her sign up for a program where money is supplied to them, food is supplied to them. Hira can continue to go back to school and also participate in their kung fu program. And so Rennie D also gives her the book by Bruce Lee, and Hira loves it so much. She loves every aspect of kung fu, to the point where Rennie D signs her up for all these competitions. And Hira, she tries to define herself like, I'm not going to be any good, based on my circumstances. She defines herself based on her circumstances, and Rennie D is trying to get her away from that way of thinking. And so Hira ends up having the confidence that she's always wanted. And when she starts winning these competitions, and she wins these competitions to the point where she's able to go to New York to also compete in America. And since Rennie D signed her up for a lot of these things, she's also assigned her to a pen pal, which is also located in New York. Her name is Connie, and they talk back and forth. And not only do they have conversations about, where they live, how they grew up, and how they ended up being part of in this hostels where it's a housing for girls and stuff that were about to be sold or were sold, but were able to escape or whatever. They end up having these moments where Connie gives her information about her best friend Rosie and stuff like that. And her best friend Rosie and Manish is her friends, and they grew up together. But then Rosie ends up leaving, saying that she went to Nepal, and Manish is Rosie's brother. So not only is Hira trying to get everything together with her life and her family, and just for her father to see her as her, not only as his daughter, but how great she is at what she does with kung fu. And I feel like he has more respect for her after seeing her perform at one of the great competitions where she received a gold medal. So I think that a lot of, like, as the story progresses, I think her family is getting better and they see her and they love her and they don't want her to be sold. But there was a moment in time where, even though their debts were paid off because of the program that Reniti signed Hira up for, a man that works for the main sex trafficker in their area was trying to kidnap her, but she was able to fight him off based off of the kung fu techniques that she has learned, after a few weeks that she'd been a part of the program to learn kung fu. And so now Rennie D is trying to make sure that doesn't happen, that no one tries to take her. Even though her debts and her family's debts have been paid off, they still want to sell her off. Her father doesn't want her to leave. I mean, he is starting to have some great respect for her. And I even marked a spot in the book where Hira is starting to see herself. And so it says, I close my eyes just for a moment and find myself at the Quoon. Finally, Bruce Lee's words makes sense. I can live in Girls Bazaar, but that doesn't define me. I can live in the hostile, but that doesn't define me. I can fight with Manish, but his words don't define me. What's on the outside might change the way I appear, but I'm still the same because I am defined only by what is within me. I am like water. I will compete and I won't give up on Rosie. And with that, just that main point in the book, I teared up. I was so happy for her, for realizing about herself and about her self-worth, and that she is more than what people may define her. And at that point in the book, I was just happy for her. But at the same time, she's on her way to get ready to go to New York, but she also wants to make sure her friend Rosie is not going to be sold. So she's also on a mission to save her friend before she leaves to New York. And I just found this such a fascinating book. I liked how it brings up the awareness of sex trafficking. And even in the very beginning of the book, we have a note right here where it says, Dear reader, the incidents that you're about to read in I Kick and I Fly are based on true life experiences that I witnessed as the founder of the anti-trafficking NGO Abney app. I have seen the courage of girls just like Hira to never give up. I have seen how Kung Fu became a central point for girls to suddenly gain confidence and like their own bodies again. I have seen the power of the women's movement. Sex trafficking continues to remain the third largest organized crime in the world, according to the United Nations. The U.S. Department of State says that the average age of a child trafficked into the commercial sex trade is between 11 and 14 years old, exploited into their early 20s. I want to share the story with young people and people of all ages so they not only know what some kids their age go through, but also know how to find helpful clues to stand up to injustice. I want to show them that change is possible and that dreams can come true. I have learned firsthand how important grassroots and collective movement is in bringing about change. It also says, with I Kick and I Fly, I am passing the baton to you, the booksellers, the librarians, the readers, who in turn can pass the baton to the next generation of freedom fighters, young people, their teachers, and parents. This is a story that I believe will create opportunities for conversations about gender, sexuality, women's studies, child rights, discrimination, inequality, intersectionality, and social justice. I truly believe that with your support, this book will contribute to movement for a world in which no human being is bought or sold. Yours sincerely, Ruchira Gupta. And like I said, I love this book, and I loved how it's bringing the awareness of sex trafficking and how it's a major, major problem that still occurs on a regular basis. And I know a lot of us in the community brings it up, especially when young kids and young girls are missing, and majority of the time they turn away from it. They don't investigate these missing children. They don't do nothing. They just have a blind eye towards it. And I'm glad that there's a lot of books like this that brings awareness to all these young people that are disappearing, and realizing how impactful stories like this can make a difference, can make a change. And I just valued every single moment of this book, which is why I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And then even on the back, which it does have a letter from the author, which I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to read some of it. And it says, I started writing this story when a 14-year-old girl just like Hira won a gold medal in a karate competition. She was being groomed for prostitution along with other girls in her lane, a lane just like Girls Bazaar. Her journey was not easy. Her achievement was heroic. I saw how she and her friends overcame hunger, fought off their fear, and stood up to traffickers with grace and gusto. An annual cattle fair used to claim girls from that lane every year. When my NGO at the app opened a community center and hostel there, we were constantly attacked by men like Gunal and Ravi Lola, which Ravi Lola is one of the main traffickers in this book, particularly, that's trying to take Hira. And it says they would stalk the mothers, their daughters, and me, hurling abuses, throwing stones, stealing from our offices, and even kidnapping girls. We built higher walls around the hostel to prevent traffickers from jumping over. I posted guards outside my home, hired lawyers, filed police complaints and cases in court. Just like May, some mothers in the lane disobeyed their husbands, even though they were beaten up. Their daughters were the first batch of girls in our hostel. Most of the events in this book are inspired by real people, places, and events. I still remember it was early morning and I was fast asleep when a boy and his mother came to my home asking for help. The boy's sister and cousin were locked up by traffickers who wanted to stop the girls from returning to our hostel. We had to mobilize the police to get them out. I noticed then that the girls were badly bruised while the traffickers were unscathed. I wish that the girls had been able to fight back. Our women's group met that afternoon at the center. Everyone was scared that they would be beaten in retaliation for the police raid. That's when I suggested martial arts classes. And then it says the women loved the idea. Someone knew a local karate teacher who taught at a private boys' school. We hired him and the classes began. The bullying at school stopped. When the girls began to win competitions, something changed. The very townspeople who had asked the school principal to expel our red light children began to respect them. Fathers in the community began to value their daughters. The biggest change was in the girls themselves. They began to own their bodies and respect themselves. Their grades improved along with their self-confidence. Hundreds of girls from the lane have since finished school. Many are college graduates. They have jobs as animation artists, teachers, doctors, lawyers, chefs, and managers of pizza parlors and gas stations. And so I'm not trying to read the whole thing because it's a long letter, but I'm glad that this book was written. I'm glad that, like, even Gloria Steinem even wrote a blurb on the book where it says, in I Kick and I Fly, Ruchira Gupta has given readers an irresistible story and also one that could save lives. And I believe that this book will save lives. I feel like this is, from how it's read, like for the age group, it says it's for ages 12 and up. But I would probably read this with my daughter just for her to have a better understanding when she gets to that certain point, when she's 12 years old. That way she has an understanding of what's happening in the world today, and how some girls, are girls and boys are being taken away from their families. But I just love the awareness that this book brings. I really love this book. I really hope you read it yourselves and see how great the writing is as well, and the story that Ruchira Gupta has brought to us, which this book is out today, so you can get your copy. You can get it. Any bookstore or any bookstore that you are near, go ahead and pick up your copy. But that is my book review. Like I said, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. This is a great book where it talks about awareness and just girls respecting themselves and realizing their own worth. But thank you all for watching my review. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you all stay healthy and have a great day. See ya.